we're on extra layers.
Oh, Sue is there. Oh, shoot.
You were very patient.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah,
That's nothing. Yeah, believe me, that's nothing. You want to hear some of the conversations I've had at the mission?
Right.
That's like, that was a walk in the park. Cool. All right. All right. I see Sue is. Hello. Check. Awesome. I'm ready for Sue. Give me Sue. From San Francisco.
We started all our live.
Sue is joining. Oh, I see your shot, Sue.
Hey!
Hey, how are you?
How's it going there in Glens Falls?
It is wonderfully chilly.
Wonderfully chilly? Oh no!
It sure is wonderfully chilly. How is it in San Francisco?
Well, it's pretty cool. Can you see me on the screen?
Gotcha. I've got
In
you.
the background there, that's the port of San Francisco. You see those lights?
Yep.
And then if this makes you feel any warmer, right next door to me here, there's a set of fires at a very fancy restaurant. Can you see the fires?
Okay. Can I get
Does
more
that make you
volume
feel
on her?
warmer?
Yeah, sorry.
Awesome.
Sorry?
Thank you. He's going to try to turn you up a little bit so I can
Okay.
make sure I can hear you.
Is that better?
Can she
Also,
go-
let me just do this as well to make sure I'm on volume here.
Can we take her up a little more? Awesome. Well, I'm
Is that
glad
better?
we're getting there.
It's the volume.
Okay.
It's at 38. Can you go to like around 50? Or is that too much? All right, try that.
Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
That's wonderful.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't believe you're sitting in the park and I'm in San Francisco. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's super cool. So what are you doing in San Francisco? Tell everybody about what you're doing in San Francisco.
So we're very excited. My colleague Nick Ferranti and I are presenting tomorrow. Actually, we're up tomorrow morning. We're presenting at the International Conference, the Employee Assistance Program Association Conference.
Awesome.
And we were invited to talk about some of the themes and patterns we found from doing our Gen Wars training this year, which is a training about intergenerational differences in the workplace.
Okay.
We've been doing that in Warren, Washington, Saratoga counties, looking at the way we can bridge gaps between the boomers and the millennials, and of course the two generations in between. And we've had a lot of fun with it. Yeah. Hey, new spoiler alert.
Oh, man.
We had so much complaining about it at EAP, decided to do our own training. And then we thought, wow, that could be a pretty dry, dull training. So we had the idea to create it in the Star Wars universe. So it's all based on Nick, really. I mean, talk about millennial brilliance. Nick really created the gorgeous, the color, the brightness, the cleverness of the presentation really
Awesome.
comes from Nick. And then we discussed together what it's like for us. You know, I'm a boomette, he's a millennial. What's it like for us working on a team in our community? And we have a lot of fun with it. He's a really fine colleague, and we have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, Nick is an incredible
So that's what
individual.
we're doing in San Francisco.
That's awesome. So cool. So cool. I know you
Yeah.
had told me that, but I wanted everybody else to hear it. So just tell me
Thank
what
you.
what have you seen in San Francisco? What is sort of the general feel of San Francisco?
Well, you know, I will start the story with the fact that my daughter and I flew out a little early, and we actually went down to Monterey. Monterey, California is a famous, high-priced sort of area, which is home to the Naval Postgraduate School. and also home to the U.S. Army Defense Language Institute. And my family and I had the privilege of living there for 3 years. And so what we did was Gwen and I went down to Monterey because she hadn't been there. So we left when she was 2, and I really wanted her to see how beautiful it was. But here's the deal with areas, and I think we see this in our own area, Jamie. You know, the house this is an area that backs onto the Pebble Beach golf course.
Okay.
Some of the highest value property in the United States. Now, that's certainly not where we lived, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just want to share the place we rented in 1992, rented for $1,000 a month. Now, that was money that, and of course, we were an Army family. So that was subsidized by the Army, but that same place today rents for $6,000 a month.
Wow.
So what that means, and I think we see that a lot in our area too, is a lot of the people that work on Monterey Peninsula, the people who keep the businesses running,
Sure.
right? All those hotels, the tourist trade, everything like that, they can't afford to live in the area.
Yep.
They have to be transported in, right? Because they can't live where they work. And I never, and granted it's 30 years ago, I'd never seen this in the 3 years that I lived in Monterey. But this, just the past couple of days, we saw plenty of homeless people on the street in Monterey.
Okay.
One of whom even needed, medical attention one day, was asleep in a sleeping bag. And, so for me, this journey started just being so surprised in the change of the look of California. And then today we arrived in San Francisco. So I took a look at some information because, of course, the point in time that everyone does across the nation, that's a federally funded biannual event, right? So I took a look at the point in time stats for San Francisco. And the stats are from 2024, which I imagine is the same as the stats we have in Warren County, right?
Yep.
So there were estimated to be 8,323 people, individuals, including children. And in that number, the sheltered and unsheltered individuals, and for those listening, I'll just recap in case they're not familiar with the language. A sheltered individual is an individual or family member staying in public or privately operated shelters. They're classed as sheltered, so it doesn't mean they have housing. And I know you know this, Jamie, but I wonder if maybe people hearing this might not know. And then, of course, there are, strictly speaking, homeless people like the people we saw on the street in Monterey this week that literally have nowhere to live, nowhere to have a hot meal or a shower. So this statistic in San Francisco actually raised 7%. The percentage of sheltered and unsheltered people raised 7% since the last time they did the point in time.
Yeah.
So it's on the way up. Now, I want to say that, and that's been a trend, that's been an upward trend, right?
Sure.
That's not unusual.
Yep.
I will say that the mayor here, Mayor Daniel Lurie, seems to have really been focusing on homelessness as an issue. And in October announced there would be 50 new shelter beds focusing on individuals from the LGBTQ community, 50 new beds in October. And in August, there were 200 new recovery and treatment beds announced in San Francisco. And a lot of money has come into San Francisco to help specifically with this issue. So it's not that it's being ignored, but it sounds like even though they're making best efforts to find housing, the need is so great that the numbers still keep rising. And a percentage of that, of course, are families, parents and children.
Sure.
So, it's not great. I will say, because I've had the privilege of visiting San Francisco quite a few times over the years. I will say that currently, like pulling into San Francisco this afternoon, it looks stunning. It looks so clean, so beautiful, so healthy. However, what I want you to know is this week is Fleet Week.
Oh, okay.
And that means, yeah. So walking in the field, you know what that means, right?
I'm assuming it means something. I'm assuming it means they cleaned up the city.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
And I absolutely have utmost respect for this city in our great country, but yeah, it's really amazingly clean, beautiful, well organized. I actually did see 2 people with sleeping bags sleeping out in the street. Well, sort of on the grassy knoll. There's this amazing. I don't know if you can see this. You see these people playing pickleball.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're playing pickleball out there, and it's a beautiful grassy area. There were some people out there sleeping when we went to dinner, but wow, they'd been moved when we came back.
Okay. Okay.
So, it's a controversial thing because, of course, in our area, we see this a lot in Saratoga, don't we?
Yeah. Yep.
Track season comes in, and people are moved along, and it makes it look like there isn't a problem. It's not the true vision of a city. And I remember when I was a case manager working in Saratoga, some of the landlords would only give an 8 or 9 month rent to people because track season came and they could make so much more money,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in that short period of time. Yeah, which doesn't make life manageable in some ways for many, many people. I wonder,
exactly.
You said it was about 8,700 was the point in time.
Yeah.
And they've just opened 250 more beds. And it sounds like, and that's certainly an admirable effort, 250 more beds. But how much of an impact does that have on the homeless community there in San Francisco?
You're right. It's simply not enough. I mean, it sounds wonderful, and I applaud the mayor because obviously that's 250 people housed now, right? Yeah. And they're working much like we are in our area to create more supported housing. Yeah. And stuff like that, and to allow people to stay in the housing for longer because we know that's a struggle, right? Yeah. So it was interesting to me when I was reading up on it, getting ready to speak with you tonight, that a lot of the themes and patterns are exactly the same. We're literally on the opposite side of the country. Yeah. But a lot of those patterns are the same. Yeah. What is I sort of have my general perception of how California has tackled the homeless problem. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, just generally speaking? I don't know specific policy in California. I've walked Skid Row in Los Angeles a few years back, and got to see that, and that was something I wasn't prepared for certain. But I know it's certainly, there are larger cities with a larger problem. What is your perception of how they, policy-wise maybe, and just general theoretically, are approaching it? Yeah, I mean, I think it's, California is such a very long state, right? New York State, of course, we're massive as well, and so you have these different approaches from the north and the south. One of the reasons why, and I'm sure you saw this down in LA, why Orange County and that area is so popular in terms of the unhoused is because it's significantly warmer all year round. Yeah. You don't have the same issues there in terms of Code Blue that you and all the wonderful people who work alongside you have. Sure. Got to give a shout out, to all our friends at the mission and all our friends at White House, just doing, and Shelters of Saratoga, people just doing amazing and admirable work. It looks very different in the freezing temperatures than it does in basically, you're talking about living in paradise, right?
Yeah.
If you're in Orange County, that's a gorgeous, but of course the numbers, it's massive. And then a couple of years ago when I was down in Orange County, you see all the people living along the aqueducts where they're making tent cities along the aqueducts. And I know that's been a very controversial thing. And I know people who own property down there are just like, wow, no, we can't deal with this. This is unsanitary. This is unhealthy. But then, okay, where do people go? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of amazing to me in this massive, massive, massive country that we can't find proper homes for Americans.
Yeah.
We're talking about Americans here. I know that the immigration issue becomes controversial, but many of these people are American born and raised.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I don't know in terms of the political policies how it looks specifically different up here. I just know that San Francisco itself is are you having a makeup touch-up?
Yes, yep. You nailed it.
Little touch up here for the microphone.
Little touch-up.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, pull it through.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
That was good.
You sound throaty.
There you go.
I sound a
Give
little
him a
throaty.
hot water bottle. Give him a hot water bottle.
I could use a little something here. Yeah. Clean up.
How long have you been sitting there, Jamie? Tell me about your project.
It hasn't even been that long. It's been like 9 hours.
Did you literally sit there all day?
From 3 o'clock. I've been moving around. I've gone used the restrooms and had a bite to eat and stuff like that. Yeah.
Good, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got cold very early, and that Maureen was very sensitive to me putting my gloves on very early on, and she started to try to fix me. Rightfully so. It was a good fix.
Well, you look very snug, and the park looks beautiful, but of course, I'm sure it's very cold out there.
It is. It's chilly.
Yeah.
It's not too cold. I'm
Okay,
maybe
good.
a little oversensitive.
Well, you're a hero in our community.
Yeah.
You have every right to sitting on a bench for 9 hours is something.
Yeah.
Let alone in October.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. So I know that it was common sort of thinking that in San Francisco, the housing first approach was utilized as a response to homelessness, and that it was not cost effective, that in fact it was often very expensive. At least that's some of the things I've heard, and I don't know the validity of that for sure. But what I've heard is that through Housing First and taking that approach, they built a lot of low-income housing. And while they may have pulled people off the streets, they pulled them into a housing complex that was less than healthy.
Right.
Where individuals really found it hard to thrive and grow and form those bonds within community that are so essential to really growth.
That's it. It's an interesting thing. I was talking to a social worker a while back. She is a finance social worker. There are social workers who specialize in finance, and she has a practice in Saratoga. She'll actually be joining us for Brainstorm next week.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, which is very cool. She's going to do a workshop for us. But she was talking to me about a project in Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland, of a group, and I'm not going to do her justice in terms of the name of the group, but it was Black women building home space, so rehabbing apartments in the heart of Baltimore, quite an impoverished area. But what the funding was put towards was teaching. This project happens to be for women, teaching them how to rehab their properties, do the plumbing, do the maintenance, do the solid work. But then part of the contingency of it was, you can't sell the property, you can't move out. This is your home. Your commitment is to stay in the community, and your commitment is to build community, because you've literally helped rehab this building. And they took old factories and different places like that. And I thought, that's a very interesting thing, because there's a real emotional buy-in.
Yeah.
If I'm learning how to rehab and maintain not just my apartment, but my next door neighbor's apartment too,
Yep.
does that build a greater sense of fulfillment and investment in community?
Yeah, I would think the character attribute development that occurs in that process is priceless. Like the commitment to something like that, just commitment alone, and the investment, like you said, into something like that really just is something where personal development is going to be in the forefront of the process. You can't get around it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
That sounds like a
Right.
great project.
You know, one of the things I think about, Jamie, a lot with this is that as humans, we're all individuals, right? And people I've known over the years that I sat and talked with, including your own folks over at Open Door when I spent time over there, is people come to housing insecurity for a variety of different reasons, a variety of different ways that happens, right?
Yep.
And so why do we think one solution is going to fix it? I have utmost respect for Housing First, right? I love that as a philosophy, but that might not work for me. Maybe I need to do something where I'm told you're going to make an investment in this.
Yeah.
Or maybe I need more of a helping hand. Maybe I need more group home type activity or supported housing. I don't really think, particularly if I have children, if I'm homeless and have children, you know, or how about if I'm homeless and I've been trafficked? I'm going to need a different type of program, right?
Absolutely.
So we need multiple, just like we celebrate all paths in recovery, we need to celebrate all paths in terms of housing security.
Yeah.
To fix this problem, as communities, we have to look at it on multiple different levels.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Diverse solutions are a necessity. One of the things that you and I have talked about in the past has been the utility of therapeutic communities, especially in other countries where they're doing it well. Tell us about just share some of your knowledge about therapeutic communities and spaces where they work well and really serve the people that they're working for.
Right. Well, I mean, I think obviously in the United Kingdom, and I would never ever say it's perfect, right? There is no perfect system. There's no perfect system. So I'm not saying this, but system is better than any other system. I'm just saying it's different, right? So there are, for example, really a long time ago, you know, when I was working in psychiatric institutions doing my training, which I can happily say was last century, which That's my new phrase. I'm just using it for 2025. Last century when my career started, right? We really looked at a lot more of a holistic look to care for people, right? And I never ever thought I would say this so late in my career, but a lot of community was based on, okay, I lived in an institution, but I also had a job. I worked agriculture. And if I worked agriculture, that gave me a wage.
Yeah.
It got me outside in the fresh air,
Yeah.
actively giving me purpose. I slept better.
Yeah.
I was socializing, and I was doing something essential in terms of providing food.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we look at, now that was in the days of the institution, 1983 in Great Britain, the metaphorical walls came down and hospitals were opened up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people, I would argue, had a much better quality of life in terms of saying, here's my pay on a Friday, and I'm actually going to the hospital where I worked. Across the street there was a pub, because it was England, right?
Yeah.
So if a person wanted to go buy a pint of beer with their wages, okay, they could go and buy a pint of beer. Now we can say, and this, that, and the other, we shouldn't do that. But the reality is, any regular worker, if they want to go and do that, they have an opportunity to do that. But we take that away sometimes. And I'm only using beer as an example, right? It could be a hobby, it could be parenting, it could be the type of work that I do. Losing my sense of self is where a lot of communities, licensed communities, get in a bit of a pickle, because we as the professionals decide, oh no, this is what's best for you.
Yeah.
This is what you need. Well, no, maybe I don't need that, but I'm being told I have to do that because the licensed program, the licensing agency says that's how I keep my housing. That's how I belong in a community, right? So I would argue that other communities, and particularly European communities, I think of Swedish communities, I actually think of Arab communities, because I had the privilege, thanks to the US Army, I had the privilege of living in Saudi Arabia for a while. Now, those communities are interesting because they have extended family. Family take care of family.
Sure.
So you don't have the big institutions and the need for so many programs because the family unit stays involved. Right? So if I have a mental health problem, if I have a difficulty, I stay close to home. So you've got, particularly in Saudi Arabia, a country that is run on the base of its religion, right? The Muslim family takes care of their own.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate sense of community. I don't have to go somewhere else. They actually, because I used to work with Muslim women in a language center, and they actually thought it was horrific that people in the West, so-called civilized people in the West, would put their elderly in a nursing home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They also used to think, because they was explaining at the time, you don't see it anymore, of course, but this was in the 90s, explaining why children had paper routes and stuff like that, like explaining why American children had to work, right? They're like, well, that's terrible. Why can't the family take care of them? Well, no, this is part of, this is how they learn. They get a job, they get some money, they do all these different things, right? And they thought that was awful.
Yeah.
But we take that as a sense of pride, So community in different cultures, it looks different. It means something different.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like how
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. And I like how you described the family as the ultimate caretaker. I think that's really great that, that's how you view that. And I agree. I think the family system is really a tool and something that we often, maybe not often, maybe sometimes, sort of devalue a little bit in certain instances.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the institution a little bit, and this is because, and this is my bias and sort of one of my talking points that I like to speak to, because I don't think we do it well, like you just described here. And I think there's a fear of involving work in treatment. Work as part of treatment. And I wonder, and I certainly understand where that could be, where a person needs to be focused on their treatment, whether it be mental wellness or whether it be addiction. What I understand, there's a time period where a person needs to really hone in on that, and there's an intensive component to that, and they need to spend most of their day in that space attending to their well-being in those spaces. But integrating work, some type of work into that, and I think is so healthy. Like you were talking about, going out in the fields and being part. I mean, I think you have a more extensive knowledge of our brain and neural pathways and chemistry. What does that do for a person's brain when they get out in the air and they are set to work in the fields?
Right. Well, you've got, you know, at the core of this is every single one of us, even you, Jamie, needs a purpose each day.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Every single one of us. It helps us. We need to have a reason to put our feet on the, if we're blessed to live in, to sleep in a bed, every single one of us needs to be able to put our feet on the ground in the morning and know what is going to be expected of us, right? Now that might be caretaking for the family, right? Big shout out to parents who stay home, who take care of their children. That is work. It is meaningful work. It is essential work for forming those young minds, right? The mums, the dads, the grandparents who stay home and do that. Or there's volunteerism, right? The backbone of a community, helping out, feeling I have to get up and go to Big Brothers and Sisters. I have to go to Open Door. I have to go to the hospital. I have to wherever I'm going, right? To have purpose. And of course, then there's the traditional, this is my title, this is my job, this is what I get paid for, and so off I go, right? They're sort of the main categories. What that does for our brain is that automatically, when we wake up in the morning, our brain will kick into gear and think, yes, I have meaning to life. Someone is expecting me to show up for this. Someone is expecting something of me. So I'm immediately getting out of myself and thinking, yeah, the world is bigger than me.
That's a good thing.
Right? It's big, thankfully, it's bigger than this house. I have to get out and be part of a community, whether my community is small, centered on my family, or whether it's bigger, you know, however that looks. And that's healthy for our brain. It helps lift, it releases serotonin for us. It helps lift us out of ourselves. Those neurotransmitters get firing to think, oh yeah, I'm actively engaged in all of this. And more importantly, whatever I'm involved in, it makes me think, what's next? Well, what do I have to do this afternoon? Or what do I have to do this evening? Or what are my deadlines next week, right? So that being actively engaged in the world, and here's the key to it. It doesn't matter what it is, just that we're actively involved. You know, you look at an organization like a hospital, every single person in that hospital is essential. The most brilliant brain surgeon in the world can't operate without the nurses, without the anesthesiologist, without a patient, by the way, but also has to operate in a clean, fresh room where the laundry is done, where the floors are cleaned, where the patient has good nutrition, right? Every one of those jobs, those people have the same brain response to having purpose. Now, we don't even have to particularly like our job. But to have a reason to I have to pay the rent, I have to pay for groceries, I have purpose. I need to go and do this. But we take it away from people often who have chronic illness,
Yep.
right? We take it away, particularly those on the mental health spectrum. Now, we're better in the population of individuals with developmental disabilities.
Yeah.
We sort of have done a better job as a society of recognizing, meaningful occupation is essential to well-being. But we haven't been very creative necessarily with the mental health sector in general. Now, we're very fortunate in our community, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've got Eastside Center, right?
Yep.
We've got great agencies. We've got Liberty House, big
Yep.
shout out to them, But when you look at Community Workshop, you look at some of the agencies we have in our area, we've really got an understanding that being active and productive is very, very important to people.
Yeah, we certainly do. And I had Liza on earlier this evening from Warren County Workforce Development, and she talked about all the
super
programs
cool.
that she had, her and her team have. So we are blessed in a lot of ways. I feel like maybe in New York State we get caught up in and I'm making broad generalizations here for certain, but we get caught up in a little bit of a theory of treatment that doesn't include that, or is fearful of involving individuals in that. And it's something I would love to see change, because you talked a little bit about serotonin and dopamine, right? Like, we can get dopamine from our screens, but that's cheap and it doesn't require any effort. But when I go and I do the dishes, I get some really good dopamine. Like, that's good
Absolutely.
dopamine. I had to put effort in to do the dishes, and that's good dopamine. And then beyond that, the hope and the goal would, to be really to form those connections where you're getting the oxytocin and all of that rolling, and the some of those healing neurochemicals for sure.
Yeah.
So there's so much value in it.
There's a lot of I agree. I think sometimes in some of our local group homes, and of course Ascend run wonderful programs in our area, but the power of learning how to make a spaghetti, or learning to do the dishes, or taking care of the floors or the yard, or the there's even in simple gardening, it's so fascinating to me. There's these studies about all of the chemicals and everything that's just released from the earth when we're pulling weeds or planting seeds or doing stuff like this. It's essential stuff. We are creatures of nature, and we are pack animals, and we need to be with our pack.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
And these are the essential things that we often strip away from people.
Yeah. Yep, it's unfortunate. So I've been asking this question to several people over the course of the last few hours here, and we've certainly talked a lot about this. But when it comes to change for a person, what do you think is most important, or what do you think is essential in a process of change when a person wants to make a change? What do you look to first as sort of a catalyst for change?
Well, I think one of the things I've learned early on in my career, which was helpful, and I appreciate my mentors, is the fact that it has to be individual based, right? Well, I think what my judgment, and let's face it, I'm a privileged middle class. I'm an immigrant, but I'm a privileged immigrant, right?
Sure.
And I've truly been blessed. What I think is important for someone is sort of irrelevant, because it's what the person needs, what they decide. Because I can tell them, oh, you should do this, and I want you to do that, and the treatment plan says you do this because you've got to live by this standard. Well, I'm out of line. We're all out of line when we do that. What we should be asking is, what do you want to change about this situation? What will motivate you to change about your situation? How can I assist getting rid of those barriers to change?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So the role of us as workers, as mental health workers at every level of working with humans, we need to be tuned in to what it is the individual wants to change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's often the piece we miss.
No doubt. Yeah. So we take that role of the expert, right?
Yeah,
We take on
yeah.
that role of the expert, and we do have expertise for sure, and we have our experiences
do.
and educations and all of those things. But that posture of not knowing, I learned that in my last class in my master's, that posture of not knowing, it struck me. It was like, wow, Jamie, you could take that posture and that's really healthy. Like, imagine that. Like you
I
can
saw a
step back.
gentleman, because the hotel it's kind of noisy. There's a lot of music, and I was trying
Sure.
to find somewhere quiet to sit. And I said to the concierge, actually, could you help me find somewhere quiet so we wouldn't be like sitting by the bar or out with the music? And he said, I don't know. And I said to him, yeah, I don't know is an answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And bless him, he was lovely. He did, and I was sort of in this nice little, which worked out really well by the windows. But it's okay not to know. We don't know what's going to motivate someone else, and
Yeah.
I think that comes with confidence, right? And even though you congratulations, got your MSW after
Yeah,
all
thank
that
you.
hard work, and well done, well done, well done.
Thank you.
You've got a lot of experience already, which of course makes you a fabulous social worker. But there is this piece where we just have to accept, I don't know what's best for you, Jamie.
Yep. Yeah.
You don't know what's going to motivate me unless you ask. Of course, always chocolate. Of course, chocolate is always going to be the answer there as a motivator. But
Sure.
that's a given. But we don't know unless we tune in and ask. And to be fair, sometimes we as individuals don't know unless we're encouraged to explore it.
Yes. And that's exactly it. So that curiosity is a catalyst to change, and doing that in relationship with another person is really, really valuable. Doing that that process of curiosity, and let's figure this out together. Let's be curious together, explore options and all of that.
That's right. That's right. I mean, because sometimes we can break it down. Sometimes we can use our expertise along with what someone actually wants to set as a goal. Take, for example, in the world of recovery. If an individual has lost a relationship with a child, with a parent, with a loved one, with a boss, with an employer, because of a struggle with addiction, they might say, what I want to do is heal that relationship. Okay, good. The goal is to heal that relationship, however that happens, right? But my go-to would be, it would be good to be in recovery, whatever that looks like, right? It would be good to stop using substances because that's healthy for you. So if the person sets the goal, well, I want my family back. Well, okay, how do we do that? Because part of that journey is also going to be about being a healthier dad, a healthier brother, a healthier son, right? So sometimes if we sit and really converse, and we can figure out what the next steps are, and we can both be happy, right? The professional says, hey, what we're really looking for this. But the individual can't see it because they see the goal being, no, I want this to happen. Okay, well, how do we make that happen? Then we can break it down. Then we can create a real plan for change.
Yeah.
Which is what you were talking about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's definitely a lot of the work. And I think that, preemptively, rapport and trust are essential, right? Like you have to have that that relationship where you can step into some of that that pulling apart of the goal and making smaller goals and all of that, for sure.
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot in our trainings, but one of the most valuable things we can learn as professionals, as professional helpers, is to just be quiet.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Right? Listen.
Yeah.
If you ask someone a thought-provoking question, sit back.
Yeah.
And allow that space. I know you and I have spoken about this several times. It's like, we're not experts on any one person.
No.
We're just trying to be good helpers, right?
Yep.
And sometimes to be good helpers, we just have to listen and not be talking.
Absolutely, yeah. That silence is something that I don't think anyone is comfortable with naturally, but it's so valuable, just being in that space and being silent. And I can remember we had a gentleman in one of my classes came on and he's written several books, and he insisted that the silence is saying something. And listen for what the silence is saying. And I was like, that's a little...
Listen for what the silence is saying.
And I thought,
I like
all
it.
right,
Yeah.
I'll do my best to shut up.
It's kind of a rookie mistake for social workers, therapists, and everyone who works in the housing counselors, everyone who works with people, right?
Absolutely.
I've just got to show you how brilliant I am. But you're not brilliant about me.
Yeah.
I'm brilliant about me, right? I just need some help and guidance. Yeah.
Yes, and that's, you bring me to something that I think I've wanted to say a couple times over the last few hours. My experience is that the mission, even in the past year working with some of the clients in the small group, these are brilliant individuals. You sit in a small group with them, and if you don't see the brilliance that just wells up from within them and comes out, you're missing something that is very evident. Like, these are brilliant individuals, and we love to put labels on them and reduce them to something that is just unfair. And they're brilliant. They are really, truly special individuals, and they have real incredible strengths that if they get them oriented the right direction, it's awesome to watch. So.
You did a wonderful job with that group, Jamie, but the participants really came along and shared their insights and their information. You're absolutely right. We as society hear a lot about homelessness and mental health and addiction and all of these different things, all the categories that fall under that, right? And we as a society, we form our opinion based on often very limited knowledge. And in that, we lose sight of the individuals. We don't see the individual, the strength, the brilliance, the compassion, the longing, the goals, the wanting to belong in whatever that, we just label. We label because it helps. We think we understand the issue then.
Yeah.
Oh, homeless.
Yeah.
Oh, they're unemployed. Oh, a person with schizophrenia. But they're just all labels that we're hanging on an individual. And again, we seldom ask what it is they want, right? But if you put a whole room of these brilliant speaking people in a room with the politicians, maybe the world would be a little better.
Oh, I'm pretty certain it would be.
Yeah, because they would really see how wonderful the people are that you work with.
Yeah, there's this great.
Another thing.
Before we move, I want to read you this. This was something that struck me, and then I'm happy to. But I read this quote. There's this book I'm listening to. It's a Charles Allen Kohler, which I wasn't familiar with before I started to listen to the book, but it's around solution-focused practice, but for
cool. Yeah.
for pastoral counseling.
Nice.
And he says this, and it so connects with what we were just talking to. He says, perhaps when Jesus instructed humanity not to judge in Matthew 7, verse 1, he did so because we are incapable of judging accurately. We use words to label what cannot be fully known by the assigned label. Often we see in others primarily what we have projected onto them. Thus, the human propensity to use labels in the first place. Labels such as liberal, conservative, fundamentalist, evangelical, Catholic, mainline, chauvinist, feminist, enmeshed, dysfunctional, gifted, and learning disabled, as well as tags like mood disorder, anxiety disorder, and mental illness are all used differently by different people. On the one hand, we use labels to aid understanding and to find a common language for discussion. On the other hand, we may pigeonhole, control, depersonalize, and discount individuals and ideas.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that is so profound and so spot on about the way we reduce people into these spaces.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Just to help it make more sense to us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we lose the individual in that.
No, that was brilliant.
In that process, for sure. So, yeah.
Yes, we do. Yeah, because sitting in the group with you, you could say, oh, well, yes, everyone here is homeless. But everyone there, a different personality, a different approach to life, a different sense of humor, so no, that's just one thread in common that they all have, but they're all individuals, all individual characters, and it's so interesting, but it's just it's easy for us just to label it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So what else? Do you have anything else on your mind, on your heart to discuss? Just frozen.
Yeah. The thing of people who come to the shelter, or we see them sleeping on the street, or we see them on the news. We see this different stuff, and we don't always think about the person who is coming to work. And I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention today the fact that in employee assistance programs, obviously I'm with Adirondack EAP, but employee assistance programs are around the world. Then they're not just. I mean, we're very fortunate. The best one is in Glens Falls.
Agreed.
Because thank you, Jamie. But we frequently see people with housing insecurity who are in the workforce. Yeah. So when we use those labels, it's a lovely segue. Thank you. When we use those labels as to what we think a person who has housing insecurity or whom is homeless, that we miss the fact that some of those people are in the workforce. Not only are they parents, but they're working, and they come to us at EAP. And sadly, we're not always successful at finding housing for people, because there are restrictions on what people earn. We have wonderful success with you, and in fact, Nick, over dinner tonight, Nick informed me of someone that
awesome.
once again, Open Door, your team have stepped up to the plate and assisted a particular individual, and I thank you for that. Awesome. But the label of homelessness includes people who are gainfully employed,
sure.
but they're not making enough money to be able to afford rent, let alone to be able to secure a mortgage. And I just wanted to point that out. You know, when we think about it as citizens in Warren, Washington counties and the surrounding areas, that yeah, this is a real problem. Some folks are in the workforce and can't make ends meet.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a real, and that's a real hard thing to swallow. It's such a reality for our community. I mean, there were stats even from recent years where 50% of the individuals in our community that are renters are unable to dedicate the 30% mark to their rent, the 30% of their income, which is sort of the standard for it to make everything else work. If 30% of your income should go to rent and the rest can go to medical, to food and other needs, transportation, and 50% of the folks renting in our communities don't have that. So they don't have something else if they don't have that.
Exactly.
There's a trade-off there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and often that trade-off comes down to medications, certain types of food, right? Can the child go to summer camp? Can the child play soccer, right? These are the types of things that are being missed out on, or that you have to make a choice about. Yeah. Do I buy groceries or do I pay the electricity bill?
Yeah.
You know, it's significant.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking time from across.
Oh, I loved it. I was so looking forward to it. Jamie, I'm so proud of you. I respect you so much for bringing this 24-hour stretch to a community to help us better understand what's going on in our own backyard, and also the wonderful players who support you and your mission. I mean, people like Liza, they're champions in our community. You know, we're truly fortunate in our area to have people like yourself just working so hard on this issue. Thank you for everything you and your team do.
Yeah, thank you, Sue, and thank you to Adirondack EAP. You and your team are incredible, and you really support our teams, you know, in so many amazing ways, and so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely our pleasure. I love being over at the mission and having a giggle with everyone and seeing everyone, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Thank you for letting me join you tonight.
All right, have a great night, and hope your training goes really well tomorrow.
Thank you so much, and I'll be sending warm thoughts your way. I'll be thinking of you, and I hope that tomorrow, it's already tomorrow now, right? So
yes, it is.
I hope that later on the day on Friday, you get some rest and get to be home with your wonderful family.
Thank you, Sue. God bless.
Thank you for everything you do. Night,
right.
night.
Take care.
You too.
So that was Sue McManus from San Francisco, really incredible individual who does incredible work in our community. She is the executive director at Adirondack EAP, Employee Assistance Program, and she works with many organizations across the community to care for the employees of those organizations and to offer them support in times when they need support. So really an incredible individual. So glad to be able to speak with her from San Francisco. We'll probably take a short break here, and maybe I'll come back before I get on at 2:30 a.m. With the CEO from Dallas Rescue Mission. Looking forward to that conversation. We'll be talking mission, and I'm certain that he'll have a lot of insight into mission programming. Bruce Butler, really an incredible individual that leads Union Gospel Mission in Dallas. Looking forward to talking to him. Do we have him at 2:15? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes, yeah, we'll cue him at around 2:15.
2:15. So it'll be around 2:15 a.m. Bruce, I'm wondering he'll probably be around 12:15 in Dallas. So we'll both be fighting to stay up, but it should be an enjoyable talk. So yeah, we'll see you back then. We'll be back in a little bit.